Good day, good morning, good evening, likely good morning though when you click on this video. Pelicans Daily presented by Fan Arch. I'm your host Dylan Bruton. Make sure to like, to share, to subscribe. Support us for free, baby. Those numbers are going up though. That's exactly what I would love to see. But you did the right thing by clicking on this video because when you shit with Dill, you already know the drill. You already know the drill. All right, so I ain't want to rain on BI's parade. I ain't want to rain on Toronto's parade. Got a lot of respect for them as an organization. You know what I'm saying? Um, but we all know this last trade deadline. Uh, we made a trade that got rid of a guy who it looked like he was going to be a franchise cornerstone. I thought he was going to be the guy. I thought it was going to be him and Zion carrying us into the years. I thought Lonzo was going to be part of that too. I mean, oh man, what could have been? That trio was special in 2K though. I can tell you that. That trio was special in 2K. Um, Bi, right? Shout out to my guy Chris Lambert writing this article, talking about just the realization that the Raptors are likely going to come to. Although, knock on wood, I'm hoping things are different. I'm hoping this time around that, you know, health isn't the issue for BI. But that is the main Achilles heel. Figuratively, literally, even though he's never had an Achilles injury, he had an ankle injury, and it just got worse and worse to the point where he had to get the surgery. We know he had the blood clots issue earlier. I mean, he's been through a lot. Love BI though. Really do love BI as a Duke fan. As a I stay up to date with certain cities. I mean, with certain states and their hoopers. North Carolina is one that I stay very tapped into. He's from Kingston. That's where Jerry Stackhouse is from. Um, Bi is that dude, man. Coming up, he's in the graduating year, a year, 2 years before me. Yeah. He's 2 years. He's in the graduate. I think he class of 15. I want to say. Yeah, class of 15. So, Bi is a guy who I really came up to watch. Right, I really saw his development, really saw his come up, and it was exciting when he came through. I mean, he was probably the crown jewel of the Anthony Davis trade, and he kicked in right away and was going on fire. All star, most improved player. He looked like he was going to be the guy. He looked like he was going to be our closer for years to come. But injuries, some inconsistency, sometimes lapses on the court, falling a little too in love with his jumper. It just all compounded. And it's unfortunate because I still think talent wise has not reached his ceiling. I don't feel like we've seen the best of Bi. And I know some people are like, what? What? No way. But I truly and really feel that way. Like Bi is a very talented player who can score every way which possible. And I'm one of those type of fans who I love a smooth bucket getter. I'm biased towards those. I will admit it with no shame in my game. But it's tough when health, because they say your greatest asset is availability, and when the health is not up to par, it's tough. It's tough to go far. It's tough to justify investing. Because if I can't rely on you to be there, then what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do in the meantime? People say that about Zion. At least we have seen Zion, right? We have seen like Zion's potential is even higher. Don't get me wrong, Bi's potential is still high. I mean, he was the second overall pick back in 2016. He's shown a lot of promise, but there's still more that could be done. But he's only averaging about 37, 38 a game, games played, not points, but games played. And it's tough because the Raptors as a team on paper they got some nice guys, man. They got R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, um, Emmanuel Quickly, Jacoby Walker. I mean, they got Jakob Pertl. They got a squad to do something potentially, but they got the eighth highest payroll. Masai Ujiri stepped down as president, so there's gonna be a bit of a. It's going to be a development year, needless to say. They just lost Chris Boucher to the Celtics, so we'll see what happens with them. I personally think the Raptors could be a sleeper team if everyone stays healthy, but they also might have too many chefs and not enough cooks. But yeah, it's unfortunate that Bi wasn't able to reach his fullest ceiling, because I really do and think that he could have been that guy for us. I think he could have been our fourth quarter closer for years to come. Had his jersey retired, like it seemed like that was all set in stone, and it's just terrible when things don't go as planned. But crazy enough, right? If it wasn't for Bi's injuries, if it wasn't for him missing time, there's a certain guy who wouldn't have been able to develop into the player that he is now. And that is Trey Murphy III. So, another article by Chris Lambert. Like I said, dude, my guy's a beast. In a recent podcast episode with Game Theory, Sam Vecini of The Athletic described Trey Murphy III as a player with very good control of the game, plays with good pace, which allows him to expose defenders. And, spoke very highly of him and just how much his balance of offensive shooting, finishing, athleticism, playmaking make it difficult, as well as his two-way ability, which I will say that is the thing that he had over Bi, right? Bi is a better scorer, pure bucket getter, like one-on-one, like I roll a ball to you, 5 dribbles, 3 dribbles. Yeah, Bi can do a little bit more. But Trey Murphy is a better defender. And his progression that he has been, on and elevating towards, you can't ignore that. And I think that the greatest thing that we did was, make sure that we didn't move Trey Murphy III. I knew we were gonna be able to keep Herb in the fold. But I was very worried about we might lose Trey just because of the asking prices. Like someone might come through with a good enough asking price and it might, So I'm thankful. I'm thankful as ever that President Dumars did not do that, because the potential that Trey has is very high. And, Chris was talking about, could he be an all-star next year? I think so. But there are a lot of great wings, and it's also rare that you have multiple all-stars from the same team unless they are a top seed. But, hey, anything is possible. If we end up being a top 3 seed, then, anything is possible. And y'all going to see me do some of these videos up in New Orleans at the Pelicans games himself. Like, that's how, the level of which we got to take this to. You know what I'm saying? But there's not many, and he brought up how, it's rare that you have a guy put up those type of stats that doesn't, get that all-star appreciation. But he brought up C.J. McCollum, who, C.J. McCollum had plenty of years in Portland that I would be like, that could have been an all-star year. That could have been an all-star year. But I think Trey Murphy can take that leap. I think Trey Murphy right now is at a point where he's going to become that number 2 second option on a championship team without a doubt, but also can be a takeover number 1 guy if called upon, right? Especially in the fourth quarter, given Zion is not much of a shooter, that is where Trey Murphy is perfect for that role, right? The shooting ability, the clutchness, that's where he's going to come into, that's where he's going to be able to elevate and level up. So, it was just nice to see the praise, because it's well warranted. It's very much something that he has earned and deserved. And I find it hard for anybody to try to tell me that he's not one of the most promising young wing players in the league. Like, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by living in that level of denial and also discrediting. So, hey, we know how great Trey Murphy is. The rest of the league and the rest of the world is just catching up. So I'm very excited, though. Very excited, and I think that the potential that he has is sky high. But speaking of sky high potential, though, my guy DeJonte Murray been in the gym. He been over here getting Aki on folks. So a recent Snapchat just went viral or not viral, but it's circling around, and you know, DeJounte Murray, who's been recovering from his Achilles injury, is set to come back in February around time. He's added 14 pounds to his frame. He's now weighed at 194, which he's normally listed at 180. And, and he's from the same draft class as BI, 2016. Again, I remember watching both of those guys coming up in high school. They're only 2 years ahead of me. And with DeJounte, that's a big deal because DeJounte's been in the league for nearly a decade. He's known as a very talented slasher. He's known as a guy who can get a shot at the rim. He's known as a guy that is able to create offense for himself in an aggressive style. So for him to be adding more weight, that's a plus. And then also on the defensive end, right? He's got great instincts. He's got great athleticism, and he's not going to get pushed off his spot. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is going to be a big thing for him, right? Because he does excel at driving to the hoop, but it could improve, right? He was 36. He was in the 36th percentile of rim finishing at 25th last year for that. He's a big guard at 6'5", but it's just the thinness in his frame. But I expect him to get his stats up. I expect him to come out of rehab with a better jump shot. He's likely going to be, more cognizant about how he manages and upkeeps his body. And, Achilles injuries are freak injuries. So, that's not, it wasn't on him. But, you know what I'm saying? Just as a player, right, when you go through injuries like that, it changes your mentality. But I got faith in DeJounte. He just got that chip on his shoulder. He's got that dog in him. He's got that willingness to go out and improve. And I'm very encouraged by this. 8 years in, and you know what I'm saying, you really add some significant weight. That's a big deal because he didn't technically need to. He didn't need to. He's still very talented player. He's been an all-star, all defensive first team. He's not necessarily needed that, but that just goes to show there's a different mentality right now. And right now, there's a culture shift happening. Right? These guys, they want to win. They see the amount of talent that's out there. And they going, hold up. We are too talented. We got too much firepower to not be properly utilizing it, to not be, excelling at a higher level than what we are now. So I'm very excited for this season. Obviously, he's going to have to come back a little later because of the Achilles injury. And there's going to be competition with Jordan Poole, with Jeremiah Fears, but I got faith that DeJounte is going to still show an improvement in his impact because of his defensive ability. Because he's got the defensive ability and athleticism that those two don't have. I mean, Jeremiah Fears is a great athlete, but he's not the caliber of athlete that DeJounte is. So I'm very excited. There's a lot to look forward to. Ain't nothing too crazy, but hey, it's a plus, right? 14 more pounds, that's great. We'll take that. We'll gladly take that. Man, if he gets to 200, it's over. But he doesn't even need to. But it's going to help. It's going to help him pay dividends. But let's get to my favorite part of the video, responding to y'all. So, first off, let me get everything loaded up. These are comments from another previous video because I did a video where I had four topic talking points. So I didn't respond to nothing. Ed Johnson 3885. Rasheed Wallace would be a great coach for the Bigs. You know what? He would. That would be a great guy to have on the staff. I ain't gonna lie. And even if he's not an official staff member, would love to have him be a guy to come in and mentor Derek Queen, Zion, Eve, Carlo, who I've not mentioned much this offseason, but definitely even Hunter Dickinson. That'd be a great guy for them to learn from. So I'm with you on that. Novocaine 943. The only team with money is Brooklyn. The money dried up. No other team can offer these restricted free agents money. That is true. And then with the second apron, that's kind of removing the ability for teams to really build the same way as they would before. So you're not wrong. Brooklyn does have a lot of chump change. What are they going to do with that? Who knows? I don't know how their draft class is all going to pan out, but we'll see. I wasn't necessarily sold. I like the Danny Wolf pick because Danny Wolf was a guy who I talked about if we still had kept our 23rd overall pick, us getting. But and I like the Nolan Traore pick too because I liked him as well. I said he was like an ultimate reach if we picked him at 7, but if we picked up another first round pick, unbeknownst that would happen. Or if he was still available at 23, then yeah. If we hadn't gone for a point, but yeah. If you know, you know. 504. Hawks got the worst handles on the team, including the bigs. Funny how people see the same thing so differently. I can't co-sign that one. Is he like a shifty? Is he like Jeremiah Fears? No. But I've seen Hawk get his own shot. He's got a nice pull-up. I can't co-sign that one, bro. I can't. I just can't. And it's not my biasness towards him. But I've seen Jordan Hawkins make things happen. Again, that's not his game. He's more of a like, okay, I'm a face up, rise, shoot. I'm a, jab step, whatever. But he can put the ball down if need be. I can't jack that one. I'm sorry. I can't jack that one. Vernon Rose 2387. My starting 5 would be Eve Missy, Derek Queen, Herb Jones, Zion, and Trey. Ooh. See, the tough part about that lineup, that's a fire lineup in concept and theory, and I'm imagining you put Zion at the point, but that's the thing. Like, who goes at point? Because Dim Sum Meme said, this would be good, but what about Jordan Poole? I honestly see him in the starting roster. And then if you know, you know. 504 said, there are two sides to a basketball court. Your starting 5 would probably be bottom 3 defensively, with only Herb being a bona fide NBA defender, and he's coming off a serious injury. Only one team rated 20 or less defensively. Parentheses, Denver made the playoffs last year. When will people learn? Estimation. If you know, you know. I hear your pain, my brother, and you're not wrong. That too, right? So in addition to not having a point guard and an offensive initiator, defensively, that lineup might have its problems. Now, as a lineup rotation to utilize in different facets and different matchups, I love that. I love that for real. And like I said, we have an embarrassment of riches, which is rare, but this is a great time because it's like we have so many options, but it all comes down to like who's going to fit where, how are we going to get everyone to fit into their spots. But it could always be worse. We could have a lack. This year we got an abundance. So I like that starting 5, but that should be like, I don't know if that's going to be I don't think that's going to be our starting 5 for like forever, the whole season, all that. Like I don't see that. Next one, Jonathan Kuminga is 22 years old, cap, G4M, 3F2P. How old did I say Kuminga was? I said he was in his early 20s, as far as my knowledge. But okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, my bad, my bad. Shout out to Jonathan Kuminga though. We got 2 more. My guy David Weimer 8244. Good to see you. Appreciate you. With the Twin Towers approach, it really comes down to who you play around them and how we want to play. I would actually run a Twin Tower of Carlo, Queen, Trey, Jose, and Herb. That's an interesting lineup. And again, I feel like Carlo is the ultimate sleeper. There's not been a lot of talking points about him. There's not been a lot discussed on him, but I'm very interested to see how he does in preseason because I think that's going to be when he gets the most amount of burn. I would not be surprised. Offensively, we could run the offense through Queen in the high post. I agree. A lot of horn sets with Trey running dribble handoffs or weak side off ball screens. Yeah, because Trey would definitely have to be the on ball scorer of that lineup and shot creator. Carlo hopefully will be a good enough shooter to space the floor, open up the lane. That's also a sleeper right there because if that jumper is consistent, then that adds another layer to his game. Because the way he rolls to the basket, he's probably our best. I mean, we don't know how Derek Queen is going to do when the season hits, but on the roster, he's our best finisher in the paint. I love Eve, and he has the ability, but he's not gotten there just yet. So I see where you're saying on that. And then with you, that's a great defensive lineup with Trey, Herb, and Jose. Now Jose, I love Jose. Grand Theft Alvarado. Shout out to my guy, same high school graduating class. I don't know with him because of his size limitations. He's not the most efficient on the offensive end. I don't know. But again, that would be a great defensive lineup, though. I would. Maybe probably Eve would get thrown in there over Carlo because he's a better defender than Carlo. But who knows? Carlo is a good defender. Defensively, with Jose and Herb on the floor, hopefully we'll have enough perimeter D to protect Queen. Carlo can guard the quicker big and be a weak side help defender, allowing Queen to be a drop coverage 5. This could be a first sub pattern in the first and third quarter. I'm not mad at that. The only thing I'm going to ask, because Ricky Pronia2494 asked, do you have Zion as a backup? And I agree. Like, where does Zion fit into that? Because I doubt that Zion is going to be just on the bench for a lineup like that. They likely would put him in over Trey, but then you lose floor spacing. So it's all these little things. Again, we have an embarrassment of riches, but certain things have to be in play for it to all work out. I do feel like the more range Zion gets in his game, jumper-wise, the better. That's just going to make even more difficult decisions for us to figure out who fits where, who plays where, but it works out for our advantage at the end of the day. I like that. And then if you know 504 again, here's a topic for you. Who is the most overrated player on the team? He said, mine, Missy, only because Jayhawk isn't projected as a starter. And who is the most underrated player on this team? Mine, Jordan Poole. Ooh, I like that. I'll save that as a topic. For you, I'll say that as a topic. But I'm going to say with the Eve, that one hurts, bro. That one hurts. Eve, I feel like you have to really be a Hoops fan to know about Eve. Like, I don't see a lot of people mention him like casually in passing and convo. I ain't really see people talk about him like that. But maybe they are, and I'm just not aware. Maybe there's circles that I'm just not frequenting. But I like that. So stay tuned. I might not do it. I got to see like what the news cycle is looking like tomorrow and moving forth. But I like that as a topic concept. So appreciate you if you know 504. You be commenting a lot. You be showing support. Even though I don't agree with the Jordan Hawkins slander and the Eve slander. I know it's all out of love. I know it's all out of passion. And, all the folks who are 504, anything, it's all love. You know what I'm saying? Who that? Yeah. But I appreciate it, though, nonetheless. But that's going to be it. I appreciate y'all, again, for showing support. Continue to do so. Like, share, subscribe. Support is free. Tell a friend, especially if they're a Pelicans fan. If they're not, convert them. Get them to join the team. Get them on board. Get them on board. You know what I'm saying? It's only right. We building something special. Now's the time to hop on the train. You ain't a bandwagon. But once the season hits and we doing great, yeah, you're going to be looked at as a bandwagon if you hop on then. I mean, I get it. I ain't mad at it. But, I'm going to call a spade how it is. But continue to show love. Shout out to Fan Arch. Continue to, stay subscribed. Like the videos. Share them. Do what you can. But that's going to be it. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Great rest of your day. Enjoy some preseason football. Enjoy time with your fam. And stay tuned for the next video.